afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Satish Bhai and Vijay Bhai for the opportunity to speak today, and all the other organizers. I hope everyone's having a great time in Dubai, a city that I've been lucky enough to call home for just under 20 years now. As you've heard from several of the guests earlier today, there is a shortage of energy across sub-Saharan Africa, with a lot of infrastructure deficits in a lot of the large economies that lead to frequent power cuts, expensive grid power, and the frequent use of expensive and polluting diesel generators. Solar power that you've heard of quite frequently over the course of this afternoon is a technology that isn't new. It's been around for a long time. It's been in use in many parts of the world for at least 25 to 30 years, but its adoption in sub-Saharan Africa is relatively new. One of the main reasons that we found for its lack of adoption on the continent was its large upfront capital expenditure costs. They have come down, but with the advent of the use of battery energy storage, we find a lot of projects are still heavy on the capital expenditure front, and our sole aim at Starsight Premier Energy is to actually assist commercial and industrial clients by reducing that upfront cost and financing these projects over a long period of time, anywhere between 10 and 25 years. The traditional financing structure in most developed markets is the power purchase agreement. For a variety of regulatory and non-commercial reasons, a lot of the governments in sub-Saharan Africa prohibit the private deployment of power purchase agreements to industry and prefer that industry continues to buy power from the state utility. Companies like ourselves have come and innovated various financing structures, loans, leases, asset finances to assist our clients in ensuring that they don't breach those power purchase agreement regulations, but still have an ability to self-generate. I think you heard Mayur just prior to us saying that they're carbon negative now across their industry. We're assisting many companies in the 7 countries that we're present in to achieve as close as possible to that. Solar was our initial technology, remains the primary technology, but with the advent of more advanced battery energy storage systems and a lowering of the price of those systems over the last few years, we're seeing a lot of commercial and industrial clients in Africa actually move away from diesel for sure, but also a lot from grid usage towards self-generation. There was an interesting story just that was announced last week of a copper mine in the DRC that has signed a power purchase agreement, must have been allowed there, for a baseload 30 megawatt power supply 24 hours a day through the use of just over 200 megawatts of solar and 500 megawatt hours of battery. A project like that would cost around $150 million to put up. Clearly a lot of capital expenditure for someone focused on mining and wants to focus on their key industry. So you have financing companies that step in and finance that and then spread the cost as a utility would over a longer period of time. I think you're going to see a lot more of this on the continent. I think the utilities, the state-owned utilities, have inherited over time a very aged infrastructure that's going to take a lot of money to bring back into line at a time when a lot of clients are able to self-generate. We've just taken one client, an FMCG client in Nairobi, Kenya, completely off the grid. Saves a little bit of money, but goes completely carbon negative as well, helps with their business. We've taken 3 farms in Kenya to carbon neutral at the gate. Still some transport costs that they need to alleviate, but you're seeing more and more companies under pressure to offset their carbon footprint. At the same time, obviously, all companies are looking at ways of saving on operating expenditure. So in terms of what I was asked to talk about finance, I think the technology, whether it be bioethanols, whether it be solar, wind, together with now storage, I think a lot of this comes down to financing structures. And finally, in the last 10 to 12 years, we're starting to see a lot of finance companies, not the traditional banks unfortunately yet, but a lot of bespoke financing companies now setting up to offer end clients innovative long-term structures, sometimes in local currencies where possible. We offer local currencies in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Kenya now. I think we'll be able to do that more and more in countries as their local markets, capital markets develop. But at the moment, a lot of it is in US dollars. But I think you're going to find a lot of finance companies now starting to offer renewable funding. Thank you.